Hi, welcome to the video. Today I'm playing Addison Oaks out in Leonard, Michigan. Teeing off here on hole 1. It's 387. There's a water carry about the last 120 feet or so, if that. Throwing an opto culver in here. A little bit right from what I wanted, but I did get across the water. Had a little spectator action on hole 1. So I'm here on the slope of the pond. That's actually a spillway. Not really good footing. The snow was a little deep over there, a little drifty. So it was really tough to get my left leg planted to get the kind of power that I know I needed for the putt. So I had to rely on a little bit more arm than what I wanted to. On target, just a little bit short. So not a terrible way to start off the round. You can very easily take a 4, take a 5. Taking a 3, I'm okay with that. So hole 2, it's 242 feet. Throwing a lucid verdict here. The play is to get on the slight right side of that very middle tree that's right in line with the T sign. Unfortunately, I sawed it off a little bit. I had the line that, or I had the flight that I wanted, just missed the line. Got myself a little close to out of bounds, but I did actually stay safe. I was surprised. I even kicked up the snow a little bit to see where the path was. Although unfortunately, I realized here, oh, I can't putt like this. I was actually my back foot was out of bounds. So I had to make sure I shifted, because you can't throw while out of bounds. Little just too high, too nose up on that putt. It really had no chance. I'm not too upset with it though. The fact that I did miss my line the way I did, narrowly missed being out of bounds the way I did. Again, taking a par, it's not a bad thing on this hole. So just heading on up here to clean up our little tap-in. Taking you guys for a ride. On to hole 3. Hole 3 is 277 feet. It's pretty much dead straight. You don't really want a lot of movement on your disc. You're basically just throwing to a spot, and you have 2 trees that you want to miss. You have a first initial tree that you want to miss that you just want to stay on the left-hand side, and then just hold it straight, and then just miss the trees at the end. My Gold Line Mercy got a little overstable on the end. It was a tailwind, so that probably helped it. But I did get pin high here, looking at probably, I want to say it was about a 22-foot putt. Looking at birdie. Cashed in. That one felt great because that was the first real putt of my round. And it's right in that range where it's very easy to be a little nervous, but hitting it made me feel pretty good. On to hole 4. It's 469 feet. It is a definite S flight to your disc. I'm throwing an opto halo here. Object is to get it high, get it turning, not tight, otherwise you will get caught by those pine trees there, and then have it start to slowly fade out. I hit everything great. I would have liked to have been a little bit higher to try to get myself more in the middle of the fairway for this approach. It's very low ceiling. Well, not very low ceiling, but it is a low ceiling. Thankfully, I did get far enough up that I was actually looking at a legit jump putt from this range. Probably about 70 feet or so, playing uphill, so it's probably about a 90-foot putt. Fortunately, just got it turned over a little bit too much out of my hand, so just kind of was a pretty simple layup. Easy cleanup for my 3. Moving on to hole 5. Hole 5 is 247 feet. It is a dog leg to the right. There's a couple different options. You can throw the forehand, which I'm electing to do right here with my Opto Gladiator. You can throw a hyzer flip to turn with a mid-range, with a fairway driver. I prefer this shot. I think it plays to the hole a little bit more. Unfortunately, I got a little bit of angle on that shot, and it pulled me further away from the line that I intended on. I got a pretty soft skip on it, so I'm looking just to lay up here. I tend to get a little too aggressive on this hole. My layup actually turned out to be pretty good. I did catch the front of the cage, but this hole, more than any hole on this course, kind of baits me into going for these longer putts, and there is a slight slope behind that basket, so it's very easy to miss that putt and find yourself a little further away than what you really would be comfortable. So I didn't really want to do that time. Hole 7's 417 feet. I'm throwing an Opto Culver in here, my little beat up more one. So I'm looking to get that to hyzer flip and kind of turn itself into the fairway. Unfortunately, I came off a little early on it. It did flatten out. I just ended up hanging out on the left-hand side. Left-hand side is not good for approaching. Right-hand side's got a ton of little trees, but there are a lot of gaps. The left side really pinches you off. So I'm trying to throw a forehand flex shot with a Justice. The line was there. Unfortunately, I just kind of fluffed it and got my nose up a little bit too much, so it kind of stalled out a little early. You can just see it there at the tail end of the video here. So I left myself probably, I'd say just outside circle 1, maybe like 35 feet or so. Easily in my range, and I was already feeling pretty good because I hit that putt back on 3. Unfortunately, little outside. I had the line, it seemed like to be good, just too much power on the putt itself, so just kind of wrapped around the backside of the basket. So there's my first bogey of the round. This hole, it happens a ton, so it's really not that big of a deal. In tournament play, I've seen a lot of high numbers on this hole too. It can easily turn in a 6, 7, 8 if you start going back and forth. So I'll take the 4. Hole 7's 175 feet. I'm throwing my Retro Mercy right up the gut here. There is a hyzer line play, but I like this up the gut to try to give it a little bit of an ace run. Just a little high. But I'm still inside circle 1. Probably about a 25-footer. Not too bad. You can really float down. So I'll take that birdie there. Nice little bounce back after taking that first 4. Looking to move on to hole 8. Hole 8's 415 feet. It looks like it's a dog leg left. It's really not. This hole kind of baits you into throwing a hyzer shot when it's really not a hyzer shot. I prefer to go for the forehand flex line. The hole itself, once it gets around this corner, sort of straightens out. The basket is slightly to the right then. So the flex shot for the forehand seems to work the best. The shape of the hole just really plays great for it. I thought I had this money. Hit everything, hit the line, hit the height, hit the angle. I was really, really happy with it. And then come to find out, I hit this big tree here to my left, and it just kind of stopped me about 30 feet short or so than what I thought I was going to be, which would have put me inside circle 1. Right now I'm looking at about 70 feet or so, 65 feet. Just trying to get a slightly aggressive run. Unfortunately, I didn't get enough turn on that. Didn't get enough angle, so it just kind of slowly stabled out and faded past the basket. Not too far past, though. We're looking at a simple 15-footer. No problem. Hole 9's 240 feet. It is dead straight. I'm throwing my Opto Core here. I threw it actually a little too flat. I wanted to have it a little bit more hyzer, to kind of get that sit up and then ride. But thankfully I had a good height on it, so it carried a pretty good way. Found myself just inside circle 1. Couldn't quite figure out what I wanted to do, if I wanted to be on this side then to kind of hyzer putt, but I didn't like that tree there. I felt like it was probably going to pull me left. So I elected just to kind of go through these 2 trees. They look like they're far apart. If you were to be standing there and looking at the line, though, it's probably only about a foot of gap. So really stoked to hit that putt. Hole 10's 276 feet. There is a swamp down there, so it is almost a water carry the entire way. I'm throwing a retro Mercy. My plan is to just throw it straight on the right-hand side and have that fade in a little bit. This one apparently is getting a little seasoned, so it went nice and straight like it should. Never really got that fade at the end. Not too big of a deal though. Found myself inside circle 1 with another like 18-footer, slightly downhill. Hole 11's 157 feet. That's the U-disc distance. I'm pretty sure this is like a 200-foot hole. Throwing a Opto Trident. And I got that just way too high, nose up. It definitely faded way early. Not too happy about it. The line is mostly to get it low and have a skip flare. There's a one tree that you have to beat that's like perfectly in line. And unfortunately, I found myself short and right, but I did have a look at the putt. Just had to give it a slight anhyzer to get around that tree nice and clean. Cashed in another 2. On to hole 12. It's 322 feet. This is almost a button hook hole. It's not just a simple hyzer shot. There's a few different ways you can attack this. I am throwing a Lucid Criminal hard and flat and letting it just take the hyzer all on its own. There's a couple trees in the back door that you have to kind of miss, which I did, and it left me right about here. Pretty simple, like 10-foot putt. Hole 13's 242 feet. I'm pretty sure the distances are a little goofy on U-disc. This is a really short, just kind of soft turnover. I'm throwing a retro Mercy here on just a kind of almost an approach throw. Don't even really want to put a lot of power into it. It's the same one I threw on 10, and it's definitely seasoning because that turned a little bit more than I anticipated. But it still left me inside circle 1. About maybe a 20-footer, maybe 18 feet. Nothing major. And by now, I'm feeling pretty good with my putting. I've been hitting some pretty solid ones from that slight tester range. So cash in this birdie and head on to the hardest hole on the course. Hole 14 is 415 feet. It is a dead straight shot with the basket perched up a hill on the right-hand side. So the object is to get either a forehand all the way down there and skip up the hill, or like what I'm doing here with my Opto Striker is a hyzer flip to like a late turn. I got everything pretty much on what I wanted to. Unfortunately, I caught a tree on that right-hand side, and it just kind of stopped me. Still in the fairway, which is good, and I got a pretty good ways down there. So I'm electing to just take kind of a jump approach. Got a pretty solid turn on it, actually. Good angle. I was only a foot away from the pole, so that was a pretty simple tap-in 3. Hole 15 is 307 feet. Kind of a narrow fairway. It's a dead straight shot. You just want your disc to sit to flat out of a hyzer flip and just run it dead straight. I'm throwing an Opto Mercy here, and that was the plan. Unfortunately, I got a little too much angle and kind of nose up. So it kind of held itself on a hyzer angle, a slight hyzer angle, instead of really getting to flat. So I ran that left side a little bit. I did end up catching a tree. Dropped me here, about circle's edge. Shouldn't be that much of a big deal. Like I said, I was feeling pretty good about my putting, so I was looking to cash in this birdie and keep on rolling. Didn't quite commit to it. Came off the am side chains. Not too happy about that one. That's kind of a, not really a gimme hole, but that's a hole that you don't feel good about not taking that birdie. So now we're out into the field holes. There's 5 field holes. Wind is always a factor on these. Hole 16 is 361 feet. It's a dead straight shot. You can do a straight flat shot. You can do a hyzer flip on the side. You can do a big sweeping hyzer on the right-hand side. I went with the culverin. I beat up one. So I got that nice hyzer flip out on the right-hand side. Really rode the wind nicely. Caught myself a nice skip at the end, leaving me this pretty simple putt from about 15 feet. Cashed in that too. Moving on to what is probably the most awkward hole on the course, hole 17. It is basically a horseshoe. It's very easy to throw kind of a hyzer shot and find yourself 150 feet away from the basket because you really do have to hook. So I'm throwing my culverin here and throwing this big, huge sky spike hyzer. The wind was actually coming right to left, so I was looking to try to use that wind and blow me into the green. Unfortunately, I didn't quite get it forward enough, and I got hung up here in the trees. So it dropped me about 25, 27 feet away. I do have a window through these, so I'm kind of lining that up right now. I was shocked. I gave a little pat to the branch that I nicked. I actually put a little bit too much anhyzer on it, and that tree branch kind of straightened me out and got me into the basket. So stoked to be taking the 2 there. Sometimes tree love works both ways. Hole 18 is 519 feet. You got a tree line and an OB fence running all along the left-hand side. There's no real danger of getting over the fence unless you completely saw off the shot. So I'm taking my Opto Gladiator here because I'm throwing into the wind, and I just kind of wanted to put it out by the short pad, the am pad that's on the left-hand side, because there's a lot of snow out here. It's not been played much, so I didn't really want to have to worry about losing anything and searching for a long time. So I got just in front of the short pad, about maybe by 20, 30 feet, leaving myself kind of an awkward stance here to try to throw my Lucid Justice. As an approach, I wanted to swing it out wide and bring it in on the basket. A little bit too high, a little nose up. Left myself kind of short. Looking at, I think it was just inside, maybe just outside circle 1. But now this is into a little bit of a headwind. Kind of an uncomfortable putt. Thought I was going to get the float. I did not. But sat myself down right there for a simple tap-in bogey. Taking my second bogey in my round, so it is what it is. Moving on to 19. 301 feet. Throwing my Opto Stiletto, because again, this wind starts to swirl in here, so I'm taking the forehand line, which I don't normally take. I wanted to get a little bit of an anhyzer flex on that. Unfortunately, I really didn't get the wing up, so I ended up fading out kind of early. I do have a look at the putt, though. Those bushes really aren't in my way. I just wanted to kind of float down a simple straight straddle putt. Oh, what was that? And as you can see, I'm not really happy with that release. I'm not sure what I did. It was fluffed. It was hyzered. It was high. There was a lot of things wrong with that one. Just a simple misfire, really, overall. But I'm not far away for the cleanup par, so it's not too much damage done. Just would have liked to have seen myself give it a little bit more of a run than what I did. Moving on to hole 20. Hole 20 is a dog leg left to right. It kind of climbs a slight hill at the end. You can do a backhand, kind of an anhyzer, not really a turnover because it's really a sharp angle, or you can throw this forehand skip shot. Throwing my opto stiletto, I swung it a little too wide, ended up catching the tree there at the corner, but it did leave me a pretty straight on approach. So I'm throwing my Sinus SP here, just looking to kind of float a hyzer up to it. Oh, wait. Nice little throw in there. This hole is actually, for being as short as it is kind of difficult to birdie. So I was pretty happy about that. I just wasn't sure if I wanted to hoot and holler and yell while on video, so I kind of kept it a little toned down. Hole 21 is 458 feet. It's a pretty straight shot with a slight fade at the end. I'm throwing my Opto Gladiator here again because, like I said, in this field the wind swirls. I really didn't get on that one, and the headwind, like left to right crosswind kind of deal, didn't help me out at all. Faded out kind of early, left myself this really long look from my an awkward position. I really didn't have the hyzer putt here. Definitely didn't have the straight putt. So I elected to kind of do an anhyzer putt to try to float myself there around the trees and to the basket. It was really the most open line I had. Unfortunately, it was too high. Didn't really get the angle committed on it, so kind of floated past the basket a little bit. But there is a log back there. There's some brush back there, so a little bit of a backstop. I didn't go more than maybe 10 feet away, so it was pretty easy cleanup for the par. Heading on to hole 22. It's a shorty. It's a slight fade to the left. I'm throwing my Sinus here. Just wanted to kind of put it up on the air on a soft hyzer and just let it kind of trickle down to the basket. This is a hole that I have aced before on this kind of a line. Unfortunately, I didn't get it quite as high as I wanted to, and it was a little too straight, but I caught a tree, and it wound up punching me off to the left here, which gave me this open look from probably about 18-20 feet, slight downhill. So, cash in a birdie, and I'll take it. Heading over to hole 23. U-Disc lists this at 142 feet. I don't think that's quite right. I think this tee sign is actually pretty accurate for it. So I'm throwing a Gold Line Mercy. Just looking to do a flat throw with it. Not trying to do anything special. I got the nice flat throw, but unfortunately I was nose down, so pretty much buried it into the ground. Thankfully with the snow, I covered probably about 20 feet, 25 feet on the ground. So I'm leaving myself here just outside circle 1. Never really got it committed. You can hear, not happy with myself. Definitely was a nose down putt, had no shot. So hole 24, this is actually the old short pad. 24 used to have a much longer pad that unfortunately had to go away. So hole 24 now is just a 300-foot straight shot. I was dealing with a headwind, so I was throwing my Opto Pioneer on a slight flex line. Just wanted to go over those pine trees on the right-hand side and have it kind of trickle down the hill. It did just that, but it did kind of bury in the snow a little further away than what I wanted. So I'm looking at probably about a 28 to 30-foot putt downhill. Looking to finish pretty strong since my putting was pretty solid all around, and unfortunately just didn't fully commit to it again. Maybe a little bit too much hyzer out of my hand instead of a flatter putt. So just kind of trickled off the am side there. Walking away with a pretty easy peasy freezy. So overall, pretty decent round. Only 2 bogeys, which is difficult to do at Addison. It's very easy to miss your line by a little bit, and then you start stacking up numbers with tree hits. But I was happy with it. So there's my score. there's my stats. Like I said, very happy overall with everything going on. I'd like to thank my sponsors. We have Celestial Discs, Gone Discin', the Detroit Heisernauts, and Latitude 64. And thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm having a lot of fun making these. Please like and subscribe and keep your eyes open for some more content. Keep on throwing.